You know, I kind of feel like in every single video, I'm always saying like, okay, guys, we got to do a tad bit of catching up here when it comes to the Ultimate Marvel universe. And the thing is, every single time I say that, it's technically true because for me, I kind of get behind when it comes to covering newer comics, and that's on me. But my goal is to get better at that. But at the same time, we do have a big Ultimate Marvel event coming up very soon. And I want to make sure that I'm ready, but you guys are also ready as well. And so I kind of want to go ahead and beef up the Ultimate Marvel playlist just in case anybody is trying to dive into this brand new universe. And with that being said, we got to pick up with Ultimate Spider-Man issue number 15. Now, with this issue alone, is Jonathan Hickman being Jonathan Hickman. And what I mean by that statement is that he gave us Ultimate Sandman, which for me personally is pretty cool. But at the same time, it's him giving us a new character, but putting that new character on the back burner. And you know Hickman, he will not use that character for a very long time. So unfortunately, yes, we do get Ultimate Sandman, but for like one book, and who knows when we'll ever see him ever again. Now, this issue alone is kind of picking up where the last video had left off at, because remember, right now for the Parkers, they are technically on the run at the moment. And the reason why, because, well, the Sinister Six, who's working for the Kingpin, they know about Peter Parker being Spider-Man. They know that Harry Osborn is the Green Goblin. Well, sorry, he was, because in our last video, we had saw the death of Harry Osborn. But either way, for Peter, he's trying his best to protect his family. Now, he didn't bring Uncle Ben nor Jonah, just Mary Jane and the kids, and that's really it. Now, for Peter and Mary Jane, they're on the run. But for the kids, it's kind of like, no, we're on a vacation. We got an RV. Let's go ahead and use this time as a way to get away from the city. Now, once you do have May Parker wake up, she is confronted by one of their neighbors in a different RV. Now, this neighbor, he begins to ask May like, okay, young girl, what do you have planned for the day? And she tells them all like, hey, you know what? We're going sightseeing. Going to see different things in this area. Now, as soon as she does mention one particular area, the guy says, don't go there. And the reason why? Because that area is dangerous. People had disappeared in that area. Now, for Mary Jane, it's her being that supporting wife. And what I mean by that statement is that it's not her saying like, hey, Peter, because of you, our lives are ruined, so you're not allowed to be Spider-Man anymore. Instead, it's her saying like, no, if people are in trouble, if people are disappearing, go out of your way and still be that hero. Go be Spider-Man to figure out what exactly is going on in that area. Now, we also have to remember that around this time in Marvel Comics, or really Ultimate Marvel Comics, we technically have two different Spider-Men. We got Peter Parker, and we also have Richard Parker, the son of Peter Parker. Now, for Richard, he was not bit by a spider. Instead, he has the AI suit that was originally given to Peter Parker, but Peter no longer used it. And so the AI system went over to Richard. And so right now, it allows him to be Spider-Man for the time being as well. Now, in our last video for Richard, he met Black Cat. Now, in this reality, Black Cat's kind of like, 16, 17 years old, around his age. So instead of us seeing Black Cat and Peter Parker getting together or possibly flirting with one another, it's Black Cat getting with his son, Richard Parker, instead. Now, for Peter, he wants to have a conversation with the AI system that's now being used by Richard. And it's really more Peter saying like, I want to make sure my son is well protected. But at the same time, I want to make sure that if he is getting trained to be a Spider-Man, that you are properly training him. But if things get too rough, if things get way too crazy, take my son out of that area and get him somewhere safe. And of course, you do have the AI Peter say, I understand, like, I'll make sure that your son is protected. And so just like that, you now have two Spider-Men, but at the same time, they're going to work together to fight against different bad guys, like right now, the Sandman. And so you do have our two Spider-Men head over to this military base. Now, when they do arrive at this military base, they are then confronted by Ultimate Sandman. Now, let me say real quick, when it comes to Ultimate Sandman, you really can't do much with the character when it comes to his design. And the reason why, because the guy's powers is to control sand and turn into sand. That's really it. Like, you can't really change the whole design of the character, because then if you do, you no longer have Ultimate Sandman. But either way, for our heroes, they kind of realize there's something off about this Sandman. And the reason why, because every single time he tries to take a human form, this tower nearby prevents him from actually doing it, keeping him in his Sandman form. But on top of that, he's not allowed to leave this area. And so you have Richard Parker, while you have Peter Parker get his butt kicked, but you have Richard Parker go out of his way to turn the tower off. And when he does, you then have Ultimate Sandman being able to turn into his human form. Now, you do have Sandman tell us his origin story, where 3 years ago, he snuck into this base, not realizing that they were doing some illegal government experiments being done by a group called Midas. Now, when they found him, they used him as part of one of their experiments. And of course, it turned him into Sandman. Now, once they were done with him, they left him behind to kind of keep him there, with the tower being nearby to make sure that he cannot leave. But on top of that, make sure that he would not be able to take a human form. And that's really it for his origin. And you have Sandman say, hey guys, you know what? Thanks to you, I can finally leave. And so he leaves just like that. And that's why I say, it's Hickman saying like, hey, here's Ultimate Sandman, but I'm going to put him on the back burner for the time being. Now, for me personally, it could also be Hickman saying like, hey, in the old Ultimate Marvel universe, we had a Sandman, but he was not really used that much when it came to Ultimate Spider-Man. And so most likely is Hickman saying it's time for Sandman, at least one Ultimate Sandman, to get the work or the love that he deserves. And so right now it's him saying, I'm going to put this character on the back burner, but don't worry, you're going to see him again very soon. But after all of that, you didn't have Peter being able to just go back to his RV with Richard, but to also spend some alone time with Mary Jane. Now, I kind of like the idea of Peter just doing a quick check-in, kind of like, hey, why are you still here? Like, why do you still love me? Why do you care so much for me? And, you know, you have Mary Jane kind of play it all kind of like, oh, you know why? Because you're cute and you're hot. And that's really it. Now, honestly, we already know there's more to it. But the following morning, you have Peter Parker check in on Uncle Ben, because he's the only person in the family who did not go with the Parkers, as they're on the run right now, trying to get away from the Sinister Six. But while you have Peter Parker on the phone with Uncle Ben had a visitor. You see, Uncle Ben and Jonah, they left behind the Daily Bugle. And matter of fact, started their own paper, better known as The Paper. Now, their main goal was to show the corruption of the Kingpin, to kind of show that he's part of some kind of bigger organization. Now, for JJ and also Uncle Ben, they had created this person known as Ben Reilly, who was supposedly helping them with their investigation. And so what the Kingpin did was he killed off every single person across the world whose name was Ben Reilly, to hopefully ruin the entire investigation of Uncle Ben and Jonah, not knowing that technically he did nothing at all. But it's Kingpin saying like, if you don't drop this, I will make sure to make your lives even harder. But it's also the Kingpin saying like, I'm kind of enjoying the fact that you guys are trying to bring me down. And the reason why, because it takes the pressure off other people of the organization that the Kingpin belongs to. Of course, the Makers Council. And so it's Kingpin kind of like, hey, you can keep going, but I will be there to ruin every single plan you have when it comes to bringing me down. And for Uncle Ben and Jonah, they're not going to stop. They're going to double down on their investigation to prove that the Kingpin is truly a corrupt person. But this is where we're going to end today's comic book video. So please leave me a like down below and subscribe. But guys, see y'all next time. Later.